This video documents the installation of a Ruff Stuff Specialties Y-link kit onto my father's 1967 Kaiser. The installation process should be pretty straightforward for anybody looking to get into this kit or any kit like it. This isn't the high steer kit, but we don't expect to do much difficult off-roading with this truck immediately after it's built, but when we do, it's easy enough to upgrade. Now, I also bought the reamer from Ruff Stuff Specialties just to make it a little easier on myself. Just for kicks, I went out looking around town to see if I could find the reamer in any of my parts stores or my tool stores, and no one had it, so I'd say it's worth just buying it online with whatever kit y'all choose to go with. The reamer arrives in a blue plastic container wrapped in plastic, and that's pretty much all there is to it. The reamer cuts really well, and I'm happy with the performance of the reamer. I did use a lot of WD-40 to help lubricate and clean the reamer, as well as doing it all by hand for fear of breaking the reamer using a drill. Here you see me cutting our tie rod that connects to the drag link, and then again at the driver's side knuckle. To find the measurements, we installed the tie rod ends after the reaming was completed, threaded the inserts onto the tie rod ends till they sat about in the middle of the threaded area to give us a lot of room for adjustment, and measured inside to inside of the sleeves plus ½ inch just to be safe. And here's what hand reaming with the supplied tools handle looks like. Sure, it may be a huge pain in the buns, but a bigger pain in the buns would be destroying or breaking the reamer while using a drill. Sure, a more skilled person might be able to use this tool with a drill just fine, but I don't ream knuckles often enough, and if this is your first time, I bet it's going to be one of the last times. This is my second time reaming knuckles in 5 years. I don't do many 110 steering upgrades. So our plan was to take it slow and ream, then check, lube, and clean and repeat, just to make sure I didn't take too much material out. The reamer and the tie rod end are tapered, so you can't just drill through with a good bit, and I wanted to make sure I got the absolute best possible fit. I ended up using fairly light pressure on the reamer because the reamer bit into the metal pretty well, and it would just stop me as soon as it bit harder than I could power through. I ended up using gloves and a socket wrench with a 12-point socket that fit the end of this tool well enough and allowed me to get a little more leverage on the reamer. That helped me to get through the other knuckles just a bit faster. Now I'll be checking to see if the tie rod end fits far enough down. My goal is to be able to thread the nut by hand far enough up to just see the entire hole for the collar pin. That's how I did it on my 1991 Jeep Comanche, and I haven't had any issues with that. We've been on 3 wheels a few times. I put a lot of pressure on that tie rod, so I'm fairly certain it's going to be safe for quite some time. This is footage of me tack welding the threaded inserts onto the tie rod by the driver's side knuckle. It wasn't the best weld in the world, but I needed it to hold together for the test fits and to get it to the weld shop, especially since there is a mix of left hand and right hand threads in the kit, and they just have a very specific location, and there's no way for my little 110 welder to get hot enough to weld these in properly. Next, I'll slap on a second tack weld, and that's what I did for each threaded insert. For this next one, I'm just going to shut my big bazoo and let y'all just watch all the welding. this is what everything looks like mocked up and with all the welding completed. So we didn't have to bend anything to get this kit to fit. I definitely say we're lucky, and I'm really happy with how it came out. Thanks for watching. And one quick thing, Jones, if you're watching this, I know you're still a little broken up over Sheba, but it gets better, bud. Just keep your head up.